I'm Ron Scalzo, the host of your favorite podcast, or maybe your sixth favorite podcast, The Joy of Bob Ross, a happy little podcast. And this month, we're rolling out a happy little experiment on Twitch TV and the podcast with our inaugural Bob Ross Rewatch. We're going to break out our eyeballs and our eardrums and our imaginations and watch a very special episode of The Joy of Painting with some commentary and insight from some very special guests. Now it's time to introduce our guests. First up, let's introduce Michigan's finest landscape painter, certified Ross instructor, Ted Simpson. Hello, Ted.
How's it going, Ron? Good to see you all here today.
Good. Are you jazzed for this? You're a guinea pig. You're going to break the ice with us for our inaugural Bob Ross rewatch. No pressures, Bob would say.
That's right. I'm very excited to be here. It's been a while since I've been on Twitch, and well, other than last week's TwitchCon, but we're going to have a great time with this rewatch today with one of my favorite paintings.
Right, you picked the painting. We're going to hold that in our back pocket until we introduce all our guests. But let's talk about our history. You on the podcast, you painted a mountain for us a couple of Octobers ago on episode 4, the Bob Ross Halloween special. I got to actually sit here at my computer and watch you paint a mountain, which was probably the first time I've ever seen somebody do that, if you want to call it in person, but certainly virtually. And what was that like for you? Do you have memories of that experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I love painting and talking at the same time, so I love having an audience and doing demos, either over Zoom or, of course, in person during my classes. Um, and yeah, it was great meeting you and just talking about Bob, and ready to be back and do it again sometime.
Now, you're not just here for the rewatch, you're also doing something special for Bobtoberfest. On October
Mhm.
10th, you're going to be doing a painting class to support the Bob Ross Happy Little 5K, the Run for the Trees. We've also featured that on the podcast. It's been going on for a couple of years now. Tell us more about that.
Well, yeah, for the last few years now, the Michigan DNR has supported tree planting programs all across Michigan. And when you register to do your virtual or in-person 5K, you get your T-shirt and a bib, and you can go out to your local parks and do the 5K and help plant some trees. Lots of happy trees. So this is a thank you for the Michigan DNR and all their workers' tireless efforts throughout the year for this program, and to help continue it on in years to come. So we'll be teaching, several dozen people in a big in-person class, and there's going to be lots of pictures, and you'll be able to see the results of that throughout the social pages.
And we also put the link to sign up for the Happy Little Trees Run in the chat if you want to do that. That goes on. I feel like that's always going on in some state at some time. Somebody's running for the trees in Bob Ross's name. So thanks for participating in that, Ted. Ted, stand by. We're going to bring our other guest. Also joining us is our Twitch streamer Gromfalloon. Hello, Gromfalloon.
Hello, hello. Hope you're all doing fantastic today. Great to be here.
We now have the holy trinity of bald, bearded guys here to rewatch an episode of The Joy of Painting. We can activate our powers and make this happen. But before we do, Gromfalloon, we're familiar with you. You did a charity stream with our friend Lady Gallagher, who taught you a Bob Ross painting. I believe it was Cool Waters. Tell us what that was like. How did that come about?
Well, it came about because I was getting the itch to I wanted to paint. I wanted to give it a shot. I've watched her stream a lot. I have a couple of her paintings. Wanted to I wanted to do it, see if I could. So I asked her, like, how do I get you to help me out with this? Like, how do I do this? And then it turns out that like a week or two later, she's like, "Well, I was gonna do something with someone else, some other content creator, but they had to bail, so we need somebody. You wanna you wanna fill in?" And I was like, "Hey, I have a charity stream coming up in like a month. How about we just do this for charity, raise some money for a good cause?" And everything just kind of just fell into place. And I was nervous because I do Twitch emotes, so people think that I can do any sort of art. They're like, "Oh, if you can do emotes, you can paint." No, completely different. Um, but She walked me through it. She basically held my hand, and I had a good time with it, and it turned out much better than I could have ever expected. It looked like an actual painting. So it is true. Anyone can actually do it with Bob's method. So that
So Bob wasn't
was
lying.
great. No, no, Bob was a very honest man.
How
I
does
found that out.
how does one become a Twitch emote artist? How did you get into that line of work?
For me, it was right place, right time. I was the silly guy making some memes and some channels here and there. Eventually, the channels got much bigger, and one of them just really just it took off. And he's like, "Hey, I'm just assuming that you're my graphics guy, right? I just unlocked emotes. Like you can do emotes, right?" I'm like, I'll I'll learn, I guess. So I made some, and then 10 years ago, 11 years ago, there are many fewer emote artists out there. It's really nice that Twitch has gotten so big, and there's so many emotes out there that it requires thousands of emote artists, and there's a lot of really talented people out there, and it's really great just seeing that become a way of I think you can make a living off of it. I think
Well,
that's
that's good to
amazing.
know.
Yeah.
Well, if you subscribe to this channel, you know that we have some special Ross emotes that you can use. I've already see a bunch of them popping up. Grom's getting shouted out in the chat as well. You're a popular man, Grom. Um,
I
go ahead.
I have some. I have a lot of good connections. A lot of people have been very kind to me
Excellent.
over the
Well, that's
years.
why you're
So
here. That and your love of Bob Ross. And of course, if
yeah.
you subscribe to this channel, you get ad-free streams and you can use those Bob Ross emotes. We're going to jump into the rewatch now. We're about to watch season 27, episode 3 of The Joy of Painting. It's Bob's Rustic Winter Woods. This episode first aired in March of 1993. And Ted Simpson, why did you pick this one?
Well, I found that this painting here, just of course, it's just a beautiful wood scene. I love walking in the woods. I think this painting has so many unique features. It really taught me a lot, and I've painted this one. I want to say at least 10 times. Taught this in several classes here. It's unique in like I said, so many ways. There's no mountain. There's no water at all. There's no
Spoiler
happy
alert.
evergreens. Oh yeah, there it is. I figured the 30-year, has up, so I gave it away. Um, this is a very Halloween painting. Bob calls it that by name later in the episode. Another spoiler alert. And I just found it to be super fun, super free. And like Bob says, if this is a first time painting for you, this is a one to try.
We got lots of people in the chat. If you want to join in on the fun, you can do it here. Ask Ted and Grom questions. We'll do our best to answer them. You can do your Twitch chat thing while you watch, use your Bob emotes, or if you prefer, you can just sit back with your iced tea and let Bob hypnotize you. And if you just joined us, we're doing a Bob Ross rewatch, the inaugural Bob Ross rewatch here in Bobtoberfest. Our technical producer, James Shapiro, he's hiding behind Bob's easel. He's going to run the stream. He's going to hit pause on the VCR if and when we ask him to. So, without further ado, sit back, relax. Here's The Joy of Painting, season 27, episode 3, Rustic Winter Woods. It's the Bob Ross rewatch. Let's roll it.
Hi, I'm certainly glad to see you today because I thought today we'd do a painting. It's just a lot of fun. So let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to do this little painting with us. And while they're doing that, let me show you this craziness I got up here today. Today I took my standard old pre-stretched, double primed 18 by 24
I
We're
just
going
inch
to
love
share
how
canvas.
this
this.
But
starts
once
off.
again, you use any size that's convenient for you. I just like this
Like
size because
this
it
starts
fits
off
television really
just
good. I took
it's
a
very
paper towel
chaotic. It's
and
amazing.
acrylic
It looks like a
paint.
scene from a movie where it's
I
just
will be
like
using oils, but I used
you see
acrylic
this,
paint
then
to put a
fades
dry
to black
undercoat on here.
3 weeks prior or
Now,
something
I
like
just took a
that, you
paper
know?
towel and a little bit of
So the gloves
And I
are
sienna
off.
wonder
and
the
umber
I wonder
and
about the
just a
people who
dab,
pulled up
just
their
everywhere.
easel and they're
And here
in
I
their
found an
easy
old filbert
chair and
brush
got
and just
their colors out
pulled
and
a
then
couple
realized
things through.
Bob did that
And
before
I
the
allowed
start of
all
the
that to
show.
dry. Now I've covered the entire canvas with liquid clear.
Yeah, you gotta play a lot of
Canvas
catch
makes
up.
it wet and
Gotta
slippery.
go. You gotta paint
It's
this
there
part
for us.
really fast.
The bottom of the canvas, Then I've
But
covered
yeah, like you were
with a
saying though,
mixture
it's
of
amazing
soft
that like
green,
he
liquid
has
crimson,
so much
gorgeous
talent and
brown
so much
color. And I
diversity
thought
because
I'd wait till
he is
get the
famous
card so
for
you can see exactly how it's
the
done.
lush landscapes and
Now, sometimes when I'm
the
walking through the woods, which
water
isn't
that
very
almost
usually,
glows in the mountains,
sometimes
like
the sun
everything
is
just
coming through the
when you
trees
say,
and you see this
oh, Bob Ross
beautiful
painting,
glow
that's
coming
what
through
comes to
from the
mind. Not
trees.
this,
And
but
some of the
this
trees
already
that are
looks
close to that
amazing.
glow, they sort of just disappear,
one of the big
and that's the
things
effect that you're
about
trying to achieve.
Bob, you think
And I'm going to show you
lots
one
and
way
lots of
to make that.
distance. The deep
All right,
sky far away,
let's look
full
at
of
the very
clouds, a
beginning.
mountain
Let's
100
start here.
miles away,
I'm going to
and
go with
building our way
the
forward.
Indian
This is
yellow.
such a tight
Indian
little
yellow
close up,
because it's very
little
transparent.
hidden scene in the
Very
woods.
transparent. It's a
I just
gorgeous
think
color.
it's like a little
Let's go
special
with this
place
yellow.
that we're looking at today.
Go with that. Right over this acrylic
Yeah,
with a liquid clear on it.
it's almost
I'm just
claustrophobic in
going
a
to
way.
cover
And
the
I mean, I guess
entire canvas
this
here,
might be a spoiler, but he's
the
going to
entire
paint some
top
more
part,
trees,
part of it. The bottom
and it
is
just kind of
covered in
brings
that
everything
brownish
in
color.
closer and closer
There,
together, and it's
just
interesting.
like so.
I really, it was a
About
toss
like
up for
that.
me between this
Really all we
painting
have to do
here
right
and
now.
there's another
But see
episode
how
called
easy that
Golden
goes on?
Rays of
If
Sunlight,
you don't have the
where he
clear on
spends
there,
a lot
the
of the
liquid clear,
episode
this
doing
is
the
quite a
black
job
gesso
putting it on.
background. And it
I've
shows you
got now, since
how
we
he
have the
puts
clear,
trees and
I use this
illusions of
anytime
bushes
that
and
I'm using a black
leaves in the
canvas
background,
or a canvas that
um,
has some color
which is
design
also,
on
like
it.
this one, very
Makes it so much
adjustable,
easier.
and you could change
I'll
the
go right into
seasons
I
and the
made a little that
colors
brown
and
color.
make it
Once
whatever
again,
you
it's alizarin
like.
crimson
But this
and
one here,
sap green
the
in about
trees were
equal
a little
parts. I
spookier,
just went ahead and mixed up a
and
little pile here because
this
I'm going
one
to use a
won out
lot of it, I
over the
think.
rest.
And right up here in the corner, I'll add a little bit more. I just want to darken this corner.
I have to show
Make it
you
look
here
like the
really
sun's
quick. You can see
shining
the
through
painting in
here.
the background there. I
About
didn't
like
add
that. And
very
that's really all we
much
need.
color
That's all we need.
to the corners like he's doing
There.
now.
Okay,
I
let me
made my
wash the brush.
adjustments. I like to
If
do
you've
things
painted
a
with us
little bit
before,
different.
you know this
I
is
have
the
painted
most
it
fun part
before where
of
I
this
made
whole
it look a
technique.
little more like
You
Bob's,
wash it with
the
odorless
deeper,
paint thinner, shake it
more
off,
ominous looking sky. And the great thing is
and
you
just
can
beat
do
the
it
devil
however
out of
you
it.
like.
Good way to take out all your
Yeah,
hostilities and
I think
frustrations.
that's great about his
I'm going to
system.
take a little bit of the cadmium yellow
I don't know what it would look
and
like
put it right over here with some
a
titanium
spring
white.
look to it.
Don't
I'm
need a
not
lot of
sure.
white. Okay, let's go up
Happy
in here.
little evil
Now
trees.
figure out where the sun lives in your
I think one
painting.
of
I think
the
it's
my
right
favorite
there.
episodes
Take the
of
corner of the brush
his paintings
and we'll
was
start there.
there was a
And we'll
like a
begin
viewer that
working
wrote in
outward.
saying
I
like,
want
"Hey,
this to
I
be
can't
very
paint because like I'm
bright. It'd
colorblind."
go
So
right
he
over
had
these
to, he
trees.
painted
I
it
want to
very
just
monochromatic. Yeah,
absolutely
like
blend
if
them
something
out
like
where the
this
light's going
was
to be
kind of
zinging
black
through
and
there.
white, I think that would look really cool.
Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
blending
leaving
out a
it
little more
black
of the
and
white.
white. And you're about the
There.
fourth
Right in
person
there.
in
I
the
want that to
last
be
3
very bright.
days that have
If that's
referenced
our hot
that
spot, that's
colorblind
the source of our light in this
monochromatic
painting.
episode, The Shades of Grey.
And you can do this as many
Everyone's
times
talking
as you
about that
desire
this
to
week. It's
achieve
crazy.
a
You
desired
yeah,
likeness.
I mean, it's something that you just
But I
you can't
suggest each
forget it
time you do,
because
get a
I mean,
clean brush
it's a powerful
or
thing to
any
actually
brush,
to
just
write and
depending
be
on
able to
how many brushes you
communicate
have.
with the star of a
There.
show
Let me
who's
just
very
let this
talented
little
and he's
glow just
busy
work its way out.
and just
But
you
already
send
you
in
see how
a
those
letter saying
trees
like,
are
"Hey, I
almost
can't do this," and
disappearing
he'll
in
dedicate
that
an episode to
strong,
saying that you
direct
can do it.
sunlight.
Like
And
if
that's
that doesn't bring a
exactly
tear to your
the
eye,
effect
I
that I'm
don't know
trying
what
to
will.
achieve. And this makes it so simple.
And
It's
also the fact that it was a
So
really good
simple.
painting at the end of the day. Like it was amazing.
There.
yeah.
And
So
then we'll just blend the entire thing out.
And this one
Already
here
it
you
looks
might
like the
recognize
sunlight
from
coming through there
Nick's
so strong it almost
Hankins
hurts
Bob's
your eyes.
Unfinished Season. He does a very similar thing
Fantastic.
where he creates that burning
That
sun
easy.
coming through the
All
gesso
right.
trees.
I'll
Bob's
tell you
done
what,
this a few different
let's use the old
times
filbert brush.
with different
I like
types of
filbert brush.
trees and
I'm just going to go
different,
into a little bit of the
even gray
titanium white
gesso
with the filbert
and
brush.
black
Just
working
load both
together.
sides up.
But
Both
once
sides
you
up,
learn
something
this
like so.
technique,
A lot of
you
color.
get to make all those
Fully
adjustments and
loaded on
do
both sides.
just all sorts
Now,
of
Mindy
crazy
and I
stuff.
roll back here. Let's make this a winter scene. It could be winter or summer. I think we'll do winter today.
I love that he's just changing the seasons. Is this going to be summer or is this going to be winter? Let's go with winter. We're going to add some snow. We're going to make it work. Even though you look at the colors, you don't think Bob. No. You've lost it. This is look at these colors. This is not a winter scene.
Just graze it though.
It's
It has that brown.
it's a winter scene.
Pick up a little bit of that.
Here we go. Look at this.
All we're doing
He
is
does like I believe just about the entire rest of the painting with mostly actually the filbert. That's another unique thing about this. Not using the 1-inch brush or the fan brush. Really, I don't think he uses it. And he just, look at that, just scrubbing it on and letting whatever doesn't get covered in white, just letting it be.
and work back and forth. Where you want to
Yeah,
highlight,
there's
put it
so
on.
much texture with the big glob of paint, and now there's just so much snowy texture.
Like that.
There's so much
Now,
variance in shapes and everything.
as I mentioned earlier, I've already mixed up a
It
large
looks
pile
a
here
lot
of
more
the
realistic than if you
alizarin
just,
crimson
if you
and
just
sap
painted
green to make a
on just
beautiful brown
streaks of
color.
white. That wouldn't look like
Now
snow.
you can take that to the
Now,
reddish
Ted,
side,
you've
Exactly
referred to
there.
these
crimson, or
as
to the greenish side,
Tootsie
depending
Rolls.
on your mood. And as we get a little more
Exactly.
to the reddish side,
Look at
so
that. It looks like the head of a candy sucker. That's how much paint
we
he
might as well check
uses.
you out for bravery right off in this painting.
I burned through a half a tube of paint in a small class teaching this. You know, the object
there.
here
Oh,
is
ruined.
is to
A lot of
goop
paint on
that
the
paint
brush,
on.
very thick.
It's weigh the canvas before and
Let's
after.
have
You'll
a
be
let's have
there's
a
a
whole
lot of
grove
paint going
trees.
on there.
Maybe it's winter time.
Yeah, I think that
These
was the biggest
trees have
surprise when I was
lost
done with
their
my
leaves,
painting. Is it just like
lost
everything?
their
It
leaves.
it felt
The
like a
snow is
lot
just beginning to
heavier,
collect on the
and there was
ground.
so much thickness to it. Like
All the little squirrels.
everything
and
about
stuff,
it was just
they're
like
probably
it
up here
was
hibernating, taking nap
it was a
babies
heck
in
of a
winter.
canvas when it was done, and I thought
There.
that was a big surprise. Like I learned a
Alright.
lot through doing this.
If you watch a show in the past, you know I like little squirrels.
I
I have
think
a
the things
bunch
that
of
I learned the
squirrels.
most. This is gonna sound very
I
silly,
usually raise
but Bob
anywhere
makes a
from
lot
2
of sound
to half a
effects as
dozen a
he
year.
like he's famous for making sound effects. Like
Turn 'em out.
whoosh and whoosh.
I have the good fortune of working with a
When
local rehab
when
group
I made
around the
those sound
country.
effects, I did that as like
Very
a nice
nice of
little
them, lovely
homage,
lady,
but I actually
Diana Schaefer.
I think that they legitimately
Takes care of
help
animals and
because it
takes
adds
care of
like
Oh yeah.
some whimsy to it. Like
love
you
all
don't
these
feel
little
the pressure.
creatures.
You're having fun. You're kind of getting
And
into
in
it. You're
Florida,
just
there's
having a
several
good
other people
time.
that I
You're
work with.
sitting back. All your worries are going away. You're
I
just
like to work
painting and
with
becoming
animals,
a
and these
part of
people,
this.
they
And
work with
having
injured,
those little
orphaned
sound
animals and
effects make
devote their whole
all the
life to 'em.
difference.
I have a
Like
great respect for them.
it's like it's not
There. I want
necessarily
these trees instead of the nice
goofy
river
entertainment.
views we
It's
make.
like it actually
Let's make some
is.
trees today that have character.
It's
These trees are
medicinal.
not going to end up as future telephone
It
poles.
He
helps.
claims
Guarantee it.
if you don't make
I'm
those noises,
ragged,
then the
raw,
technique doesn't work. So,
rough, rough.
oh,
Yeah.
here he
I
comes
tell
with
my
some bad jokes.
students
That's what my dog said when he sat down in the sandpaper. Rough. Bad joke, huh?
Do you tell
Now
bad
I'm
jokes,
pushing
Ted,
because I
when you
want a lot of
teach your
little things to
classes?
happen with a brush.
oh, all of them.
Normally you would pull,
If you ask
but
my
you
wife
pull
anyway.
rough.
But yeah, I mean, I tell my students that making the noise, splashing, pushing the ocean foam up there,
Pulling the
it
edges out.
makes it 24% better if you make the
Really
noises.
rough. This is
24%.
where you wouldn't want to go
That's it,
in the
roughly.
middle of the dark night. Is
But
one of the
look
scary
at what he's
places.
doing there. He's grinding that brush the wrong way. You know, he's like stabbing the canvas
They were
as
just
he
sort of
brings
scary
that
to
color
do
out.
in the evening. When it started
It's
getting dusk, you could
you
make out
can't
all the
help but
monsters
make
living down
that just like Bob does. It looks just
there.
right.
We lived way out in the
Rough,
woods
weird,
in Florida,
and it works.
and we lived so far back
Owners
in
in
the
the
woods.
chat says Bob
Like
Ross
sunlight
is the
into
king of
us.
dad jokes.
All right.
Can you talk about how he's holding that brush? Because that's not how I would hold a brush if I was holding it.
Well, yeah, he actually said he holds the earlier when he picked it up. He said, "Hold it like you do a pencil." I don't hold a pencil like that. I hold it underhand, you know, and that's not really a great way to hold the brush when you really want to get that brush flat to the canvas. So with your hand over the brush,
We try to do some
you know,
paintings
this
in each
way,
series.
it allows you to
We've
really
worked through
push
them.
and just sort of
Those who are
flop
just
that
beginning
color on.
can have outstanding results with them. Or people who have painted a little bit, they can just have fun with them. And we try to do some
But you can
paintings
see
that
there,
have a little
look
more
at that
challenge.
paint. Look how much glare you can see on the body of the tree. That's how much paint. There's texture there. When this is dry, you can scratch your fingers on it. There's so much paint.
There.
And there's so much depth to everything as well. Like it's very intense and like claustrophobic, but it's also expansive. It just feels like the sun is just way off in the distance. Like so, it's just a weird juxtaposition.
They weren't happy that I was condoning keeping these animals as pets. Let me emphasize strongly, I do not keep these animals as pets. I only try to help the rehab people raise them up.
I only let them live in my drawers and my shoes.
Because that's where
They're
But only
not
for
my
a
pets.
while.
these little squirrels in my backyard.
They're free to go at any time.
It's funny, people come to the house.
Shout out to all the squirrel lovers out there. Episode 13, we did a whole episode on squirrels for you, Bob. You guys raise squirrels?
but they come through the screen, and they
My
come.
family raised
You
one
scratch on the door, there's a
briefly.
puppy.
My brother found one that fell out of a tree, like a baby squirrel fell out of a tree
What
on
do you
his
know? I'm a
walk
soft
home
touch.
from like in middle school. So this was probably
I just decided I was talking so much, I'm gonna put another
1993
tree
or
up.
something like that.
Cool,
And
some easy
Well,
way.
the same time he
yeah,
was
he just
painting
like
this.
Old rough
yeah,
1930s.
about.
Tough old
So
trees.
yeah, he just found this like baby squirrel that was just kind
There
of
we go.
wounded, and he just
Just get a general
you know
idea of where we
put
want.
put it in his shoe and just walked the rest of the way home barefoot.
I've got a couple of footings
And
going here, so I
just
don't have to
he
spend
arrived
all
home. He's
my
like,
time
"Hey,
just
mom,
cleaning.
we have a squirrel.
And maybe
I
back
don't know what to do with
over
this."
here, just
So we took care of it for a while. That was very cute.
maybe there's some
Nice.
snow lives right in
We
there.
got a new
I don't know.
technique or a unique thing alert
Painting
here.
is such an
Bob
individual
actually
thing.
put a little bit of yellow in
Don't
the
just try to
snow.
copy somebody else's work.
He
No
jokes a
comment.
lot
Hopefully not
about
too much.
no yellow snow, but
See if
now
you
it
can
makes
get
sense with
totally
the
different eye.
reflected
That's what
light
you're a
in
painter.
the ground there.
I say that over and over because I just don't. I don't want to teach people to copy. Shoot, anybody can copy. Creative freedom, though, is where it's at.
Right on, Bobby.
That's really the joy of
That's it.
there. We use no patterns, no sketches. We
I'd
let
like
our
to point out that
imagination
we're
take us
just
to
about at the
worlds
halfway
that we can
point,
only
and
imagine.
Bob's done more talking
We
about
can do it.
squirrels and taking the garbage
We
out
can
than
do it.
actually
We can
like
do
telling
anything.
you what he's doing. And I think that's a big
Anything.
reason why we
He's
love
done
this
everything
guy,
else we can.
because
Every
he can
little
do
brush
exactly
right
what
here.
he's doing. Like it's, like
I've
it's
mentioned before
second nature to him.
on this canvas.
And he's having a friendly
Absolutely
conversation
total
with us, even
power.
though he's
I
not
can
in the
do
same room as
anything
us,
here my heart desires.
Mhm.
Can change the course of mighty rivers. Anything.
And yet we're still
When I go
learning
home,
because we're
the only
watching
thing
his
I
strokes.
haven't
He just
piled
tells
away
us
with is
how to,
garbage.
the initial,
Stern weights on me.
just,
There we
just
are.
the instructions on
That's
how to
me.
do this, like just to load up the brush
I
and
can
have,
always escape to this
hold
piece
the
of
brush a
canvas
certain way and get this sort of
create
texture.
any illusion
And just he
that I want.
tells us the method, and
And so can
then
you.
he
There's a big
just
old leaf
spends the
on
rest of
this
the
tree that
time
comes around.
demonstrating it and
Like that.
talking about squirrels, which,
Like that.
I mean, I like
Let's put
squirrels.
some arms on this old tree. Once again, I'm pushing a lot with the brush just to make them all gnarly. Is that a word?
Sure is, Bob.
My son Steve and I are
It's a very
both
good
bad
word.
about making up words.
I'd
I
also
learned
like
that
to
from
point
him.
out, as the non-painter in the group, how majestic Bob's hair looks from this angle.
Oh, Steve, you've never had a
It
chance to
dominates
watch him paint.
dominates the
Son of
landscape.
mine
Mhm.
is one dynamite.
He has very majestic hair.
Did any of us have hair like this
27 years
at any
old.
point in our
Hey,
lives?
this is
I
the
can say no
27th.
for
No.
myself.
No, I used to
No,
have very
He's been
bright
painting,
blonde
I
hair
think,
that
since
went
he was
down past
born.
my shoulders. I
He
looked
was
like I was in a
12
metal
years old
band.
before he realized
And then
everybody didn't
at
paint.
21, I was just like, dude, I'm way
There
too
we
bald
go.
for
Let's
this.
do a slow
I
here.
gotta start shaving my head.
We'll just bring
Lord
it closer
Vaco in the
but
chat says it's
and put some
possible
sticks
that
and stuff
Bob
in
made
there
up
in case you
gnarly
can't
right
show
in that
it.
moment.
I hope
that
Do we
could
have
be.
any confirmation that that was the first time
right.
the word gnarly's been
Like
used
this
on public
big old
television? I bet
tree
you it's the first time it's been used on public
on this
television.
side.
Maybe
This
that's
area
where they
right
got
here
the Valley Girl
says
got that word
where it
from.
comes
Got it from
back and
Bob.
goes to. Think about these old limbs that hang out here and there.
My brother got one of those
And you could just as
70s
easily have
permanent
done this painting in
froze
summer or
there back
spring.
in the mid
You put
70s.
leaves
He got a
on
Bob?
these trees.
Bob's
He
this
did get
Bob
a Bob,
special?
Today I
a
wanted
Bob
to
before Bob.
see
Yeah, people got the perms
the
back
legend
then just
started. I
to,
like to walk in the woods,
well,
and
like Bob
sometimes
said,
when I walk
so he
in the
didn't have
woods
to
in the
pay for
winter,
haircuts. But
the
I don't
sun
know
comes
why
through
my
so
brother got it,
strong,
but
and you have this gorgeous
he didn't get it again.
effect.
Once
I
was
sat down
enough.
and I watched this for a long time, and I kept thinking about how would I make that, and how could
Well,
I
if you've
do it
got hair,
easy.
you can live a little
I
bit
knew how
and
to do it
try out some,
traditional
experiment.
I
Because
very
once you lose
time
it, you can't do
consuming
it. That's
to
it.
get things
You
I
gotta
would
you gotta experiment
totally
with the
have it
beard.
now.
and
Yeah.
put some washes and glazes on there. But I wanted a way where somebody could do this very quickly
This is
and easily
the
without all the
opposite of
agony.
Bob Snow. Usually he makes that
This is what I've
super
come up with. I
calm,
think it
looks like
works.
new fallen snow overnight. You wake up in the
This
morning
is
and it's
acrylic
just a
paint. This is
blanket.
it dries very
This,
rapidly.
even the snow
It's
looks
not very
scary.
good for doing wet on wet because you depend on the
It's very like
canvas staying
post-apocalyptic
wet through the
almost.
entire paint.
It's great.
Doesn't work very well for that.
I think
For this,
Legend of
you use
Sleepy
it
Hollow.
dry,
I see the
even
Headless
clean.
Horseman
It
just
works
getting
great.
ready to run
Yeah,
right down those trees.
I will tell
the
you there's
Disney
some
one.
controversy in the art world this time
Right. The Disney version.
as to whether putting acrylic under oil is a permanent medium.
Yeah, can you talk
I
about
don't
this,
know.
Ted? Is he using acrylic
I
paint
really
here?
don't know at this point.
Well, the all the undercolor, all the previous trees right at the start of the episode, yeah, and the dark sienna and brown gessos, or just acrylic craft paint.
So maybe one day we'll
Um,
have something like that.
yeah, he puts all that on
Maybe I'll
first,
teach him
lets
how
it
to
dry
fix it.
for
Because I
15,
like to
20
design new
minutes,
products
and
that makes
well,
that
as
makes
for the
painting easy, that
longevity,
makes it look
I've seen plenty of old Bob Ross originals, and they still looked
I'm
fine.
fascinated
He
with
talks about
machinery,
whether or not
etc.
the
For a long
acrylic
time.
would
In
be able to
college, I was
stay. And well,
I
so
was
far,
in
I think
engineering
I
school.
think
We had
it's
to be a
holding up
mechanical
okay.
engineer. Now instead of building bridges, I
R.
build
Spruce in the
vehicles.
chat shouted out the Headless Horseman. Cheers to you for that.
Let a lot of that rub off. I'm gonna take a little bit of that
Pick a Bob
white,
Crane.
put a little touch of the brown into it.
Go with something nice and spicy for that for
A little
Halloween.
black, just to gray. Oh, I like it. Just to gray it a little. I want to gray it. A
Here
lot
we
of color on
go.
the brush. Don't be afraid of color. A lot of color.
Normally, Bob says a
And I
thin
actually
paint
hold this
sticks
thing
to
like
a
a little
thick paint,
pencil.
but he's
So it's
actually
very
doing the
loose.
opposite
Now
here.
then,
This is the
take
thickest, firmest color
and let this
going on top
gaze.
of a
Let it
softer
gaze. Let
color.
it pick up that color.
And
Let it
it
leave its own
you
color.
try not
All
to
these
mix.
things
He see
happen
he just keeps
no
that brush
fighting,
moving,
no pressure.
but that difference
Absolutely
in
no pressure.
consistencies is what's
So you want
causing this
to come across
bark
here.
effect. It's
That's
just
right.
kind of
Pressure.
smearing and laying on
There
top.
it comes.
Really, really effective.
Just highlight it. But no pressure. Let me get a little more black on the brush to gray that. There we go.
It's just amazing
Just
with his technique. You can get so much texture in just the blink of an eye. It's incredible. Sorry, you're gonna say something?
if you're just joining us, we're doing a Bob Ross rewatch of season 27, episode 3, Rustic Winter Woods. This is a very special,
Just an old filbert brush.
entertaining episode of the Bob Ross Twitch channel. We'll go back to our regular programming. I don't know after this, I guess. But for now, we got Gromfalloon, we got Ted Simpson, CRI Ted Simpson, and we are watching Rustic Winter Woods with you. Join us in the chat.
Darker and darker as it comes around. Because you want this side next to the light
Also,
to be the
subscribe
lightest.
for
of course.
ad-free viewing and emotes.
Oh, thank you, Gromfalloon.
And don't forget about the T-shirt giveaway that we have going on currently.
All we need up here is a big old hoot owl. It'll look like Halloween. There.
Oh, there's the Halloween reference.
There
Right.
it is.
I
There's
can't
the
believe I
one.
never pulled that for a podcast episode. I must have missed it.
Footage that I had taken of a great big owl. Big old. In fact, it was a
This
great horned
isn't
owl.
the only episode where he makes the gnarly trees. He actually puts one in a more open pastoral setting. It looks almost like, it shouldn't quite be there, but it's the same type of thing. And he actually takes that brush sometimes, that filbert brush, and rolls it between his fingers and just lets the paint roll off as he spins it down. I mean, it's the ultimate and not trying. Just blah, 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 blah. And it just works.
If you have a lot of time, which
That's a copyrighted phrase now.
you can take a very thin paint, thin it with paint thinner.
We got a very special guest in the chat. Nick Hankins says, "This is my better half's favorite painting." What do you think about that, Ted?
Well, that's great. Yeah,
Graze the high points here of that brown.
everyone has their difference of opinions here, and some of these episodes you never think which ones strike you. And seeing Ada likes it as well, that's amazing.
Ever Darker in the chat asking what season and episode. This is season 27, episode 3 from 1993. Rustic Winter Woods.
See, but very loose. Very, very loose. There we are.
Gosh, I swear that looks sped up. He must be running out of time here.
A little more of the white paint. And we can just sort of fill this in. Want this to be very rough looking.
Once in a while, I'll put a little bit of dark sienna and white into the highlight color, give it a whole different feel. Touch of bright or alizarin crimson to redden it up. So many options.
Linseed oil, a little color. You can make all kinds of beautiful glazes. Add a little transparent color to it. You guessed it.
The big old tree.
Oh no! You
Just add in a tree.
Lives right
How does he do it?
This tree, I'm gonna sort of put it at an angle so it looks like maybe it's been.
And he just showed you could take it one little step at a time, do some snow, put a tree, do some snow, put a tree, or change your mind and just say, you know what, I'm going through it all.
Yeah, there he comes.
Make it like 2 inches wide. Good Lord, that's...
There
That's a big tree.
See, it doesn't matter if you pick up some of that color; it makes it look good.
Yeah, before I did
Really
the
coming out on
charity stream of doing my own Bob Ross painting, I I had only kind of dabbled with like acrylic here and there,
Don't be
and
afraid of it. Do it.
acrylic doesn't
Enjoy it.
really
That's
stack
what makes it fun.
like oil does. I was very surprised by that. I could just
Airbrush has
layer
the black
everything,
color.
and
You come back in here.
it was a very different feel to it,
There, see, just
and
let
I
it
was
play.
very
Let
surprised
it
by it. But
flow.
it's also like it
Look at that
explains
pattern.
how Bob can
Look at that.
do what he
Now we got
does,
several letters
and
commenting on this easel I'm using in this series.
he
This is
he just
brand
makes it
new
look way
easel.
too easy.
It's just been released. I'm very,
One of the
Everything.
hard
very
things I
happy with this
came up
easel.
with
It makes it
trying
so
when
great
I'm
at home to
painting like
enjoy.
this is to get
It
the
makes a
foots of the
wonderful
tree right.
tabletop easel with 4
And
legs
I'm
instead of
asking the chat
traditional
here
3.
just to see if you
It's
agree with
much
me.
stronger.
Don't
It
they
works for
look
this
like
kind of
chicken
paint
feet?
very well.
If you make the roots kind of like
There.
3, 4
Get
chicken
that
feet,
white.
that's how I
Paint
set my
white
trees
around
in
the
there. And
edges
this one here, big old
like
chicken
that.
feet holding the trees to the ground.
There. Once again, no pressure.
I mean, I can
Allow
see
I
the
could
that.
paint just to
I
break
could be
on you.
crazy. Call me crazy. That's fine.
Just allow it to break. Maybe
Am
a
I
I mean,
the
we're
only
all a
one
bit
who loves
crazy.
when Bob
It's
says
okay.
foots instead of feet?
I do like
Little
that.
one over
I
there.
say it all the time.
Just here and there, some little bushy
I think
things.
anybody said Bob, it's feet. He's like, no, it's foots.
There. Touch
Well,
there.
feet is a unit of
Take
measurement,
a
so
line
foot it
over it.
is.
Paint
Don't
thinner
want to
on it.
confuse people.
More than 1 foot. It
There.
makes
Go
You
perfect
don't
sense.
question it. You don't question it. He can say foots all he wants.
Snatch up a few little sticks and twigs here and there. But see, this painting was done with very, very few pieces of equipment, very few colors of paint.
You
It's
pointed
not
that
a
out,
lot
Ted.
to it. See,
Only a couple of brushes he used in this.
Yeah.
if you've never painted, this is one that you can do. And your friends and your family, they won't believe you done it. They really won't. In fact, I've had people write and say their friends actually started looking for numbers on their painting like it was a paint by number, and that they thought they just covered the numbers up. Now you can go back in here,
Is yours
and here
paint
and
by
there.
numbers, Ted? The one behind you? Or is that legit?
No, that's full legit.
Limbs and twigs and sticks and
This
things
is
that I
this
don't
is
want
what
you to
I
kills
didn't
me.
doubt you
He
for a
lets
second.
those trees
so they follow along with what's happening.
he lets those trees sit out there all painting long.
Very rough.
And right here at the end, just dragging a little bit more with the liner brush.
Gnarly. I like that word. Gnarly.
Gnarly.
Back to gnarly.
I mean, it looks like they're about ready to wrap around you as you're walking past them. I'm scared.
All kinds of them.
He should have called it gnarly winter woods.
I
think,
like that.
no offense to Rustic, but
Alright.
he uses gnarly so much in this episode that I feel like
Yeah, that looks like a Halloween picture to me.
there he goes
And we can
again.
put some
Halloween.
out in here. And at home, when you do this, take your time. Do a lot of
There's the
these.
spooky
They
cabin
really,
with the
all
serial
these
killer.
little hangy down things here are absolutely fantastic. You'll enjoy them. And they make your painting look like, once again, like you spent so much time on it. And only we know that it was very easy. There. And if you enjoy success with this, you won't believe what you can do. This just opens doors to a world of art that'll take you places you've only dreamed about going. All right, tell you what,
Put that on a
I think we
postcard.
about got a finished one here. Let's take a little red.
I just love that all these paintings are it's just a glimpse into Bob's
Hope you've
mind
enjoyed it.
as a
I'd love to see
creator.
some photographs of your
He's a
work.
creator
If
of
you have time,
worlds.
send me a couple. Let me see what you're doing. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.
All right. We did it. Bobtoberfest has begun. Thank you, Ted Simpson. Thank you, Gromfalloon. And remember, this is just the start of Bobtoberfest. Follow us on Facebook at The Joy Painting with Bob Ross and on Instagram at @BobRoss_The Joy Painting for more info on upcoming events and giveaways. Find out more about The Joy of Bob Ross and check out all the episodes at bobross.com/podcast. And we'll be back with another rewatch next month with more special guests, more giveaways. Tell us what episode you want us to watch. You can email us at podcast@bobross.com. And you can even call us at 866-FANBRUSH. That's a real phone number. I'm Ron Scalzo reminding you that you're only limited by your imagination. So let it go. Have fun with it. Practice. And you too can be an almighty painter. Happy streaming. And God bless, my friends.